This video I am going to discuss the essay work by John Ruskin. As I have already discussed the biography and writing style of John Ruskin, so we will see his writing style and his ideas in this essay work. So as the title indicates, it's relating to work or labor, and obviously it is the middle class who just work, right? So it was a lecture, right, delivered before the Working Men's Institute at Camberwell, and it deals with the matter of labor in its various relations. So we will discuss. He just discuss his ideas on the basis some parameters in which he talks about work in relation to play, right, or the difference between those who work and those who play, and relation of production to consumption, or difference between those who produce and those who consume, right? Obviously the laborers, the farmers, they produce, and elite class, they consume, and the relation between those who work with head and those who work with hand. And fourth parameter is relation of sense to nonsense, or you can say the difference between work wisely and those who work foolishly. So we will discuss these points in detail. The first one is work versus play. According to Ruskin, play is an exertion of body or mind, and it is made to other please to ourselves. As the play, why we play games or other play, because pleasure, basic purpose is pleasure. So to make please ourselves and with not determined end, it has no determined end. And according to him, what is work? Work is a thing done because it ought to be done, and with a determined end, and work has a determined end. So this is the difference between work and play. If play were done as an order exercise for health's sake, it will become work directly, right? If you are playing, or just you can say you are exercising uh, for certain purpose, for health purpose, then it become work, not play. And Ruskin analyzes the games played by the elite class of England, right? And he remarked ironically that the first of all English game is making money. Obviously, it is the biggest game making money, and this game is very absorbing. Players knock each other down like in cricket, like a cricketer. They are after the runs, right? Like cricketers, they just want to have more runs. And similar way, the money makers, they are after money. They want more and more money, after more money. So in London, the business carry on the game of money making, right? Money making is a business. So it is a great city of play. London is a great city of play, and it is only Lord's cricket ground without the turf, a huge billiard table without the cloth. And the first great English game is playing at counters. When other games are expensive, it always produces money. And difference between winning money and making money. But there is difference, between winning money and making money. And next important game that he discusses is hunting, right? It is an English game, right? So he criticized on English society, the elite class of London, right, England. So hunting, a game played by elite, which is costly, and it is useless and deadly game. Through horse racing, people are led to gambling. Game preserving has its bad result, and it implies encroachment on land. And next game that he talks about, ladies game of dressing, which is costly, expensive, and he just criticized on the ladies of England, they how much money they spend on their clothing abroad. So he give example of a brooch, right? A brooch at jewelers in Bond Street cost nearly £3,000, and they should not be selfish in dressing themselves. They should read the fashion for the poor first. Then they have to arrange for themselves. But they don't care about the poor, you know, and they are selfish about self and playing at literature and art. But most dangerous is the game of war. So he discussed about game of war. It is the most dangerous, right? It is the costliest game, and millions are spent on playing and their equipment. The equipment of war, weapons, guns, right? So millions of dollars are spent on them. Obviously, yes. If we look at our country or any other country, almost 70 to 80% of it the budget is reserved for its army, for its defense, and the money for war is paid by working men, and work is purifying factor for man's life, and men of upper class should most become parasites. And the difference between rich and poor that existed in Ruskin day was never there before in the pagan's time. So he take example of a rich Russian, right? And where he the rich Russian person, he just visit a market, right? And here what he did, he just purchased two apples for a lot of money. So he give example, and further he talks about death of a poor person, a poor bond picker, right, whose body was on the ground and no one cares. Pathetic description of pauper or poor, right? And further, so he make distinction between on the basis of two. The first one is lawful and everlasting necessary, and second is unlawful and everlasting corrupts, on which is the framework of the society. What are the lawful basis of wealth? It means that a man who works should be paid the fair value of his work, right? And that if he does not like to spend it today, he should have freedom to keep it and spend it tomorrow. For example, an industrious man working daily will save something in the end, whereas the idle person who does not work and wasteful person who lays nothing by will be doubly poor in possession and desolate in moral habit. So he just proposed that Allah should be enacted, that only he who just earn justly should be keeper of the money. He should only keep the money who deserve it. And he just talk about false basis of distinction, right? The people who inherit money and make more money by power to use it. And further he just talk about uh, soldiers, clergymen, and doctors. They just earn money by working properly, right? If money become their primary goal, then it is the not rightful way to earn money, right? But they do not live for the money. With them, work is first. For them, work is first and money is second. And then it is called wise way, right? It is the wise way, it is the God's way, and they are God's servants. And if what if opposite happens for those, money is first and work is second priority, and then it is unwise way, and they are the followers of Satan, slaves of slaves, means slaves of Satan. And then he just talk about capitalist, and he said the capitalist takes the produce of workers' labor to himself, except labor's food, compared it with that of parents of feudal age, right? For example, if a person does not like to spend his money, he must either hand it or lend it, and worst thing he can do is to lend it. Why lending money is the worst thing? Because it is with the borrow money that the all evil is mainly done, right? For example, in war, one country just lend money for the other country for the war, which creates destruction. For example, English gave loans to Russians, Australians for mischievous activities such as war. Such money lending robs the Australian peasants, and right. So the distinction between intellectual and manual labor, or you can say work of brain or work of hand, both kinds of work are indispensable. Work should be done by hands, or it should be done by brain, by mind. And rough work, handwork, is done only by rough men, and rough men or one person cannot do the both jobs at the same time. Either he can choose, he work with hand or work with mind or head, right? And a gentleman, he done the mind's work, and rough men do the um, work of hands. And rough work is at all events real, honest, and generally useful, whereas the fine work is great deal of it. And work is done well only when it is done with a will, and in order, solidary, and human way. And so two things are important: justice, right? So he say our masters, our lords say, do justice and judgment. So it is wrong to pray if we are not just in our dealings with the others. So divine's work is the one which is orderly justice, right? And justice is the foundation of the temple of charity. And good, wise, useful work, whether of hand or head, is either ill paid or not paid at all. And further, he just talk about wise work, right? Wise work is threefold in character: honest, useful, and cheerful. When we get honesty in play, we call it fair play. When we had it, we call it foul play. Similarly, we have fair work or wise work and foul work. So the merchant gains his mage by foul selling, right? He gave example of merchant who just by foul means sell his products, and there is no harm if the food or the article supplied weight less. But there is but if he change or adulterates, right, adulterates it, change it, then it is the act of murder. And further, wise work is useful. Second characteristic of wise work is useful. So it matters little if it is hard, it must lead to some usefulness. And the greatest waste is that of waste of labor. For example, if a dairy person, right, who work with dairy products, right, and he worked all day long and he just come up with a milk, and that milk is spoiled or wasted by his child because his child gave it to Kate, so it is wasted, it is waste of labor. and to waste the labor is like killing him. And wise work is cheerful. So as a child work is, people pray daily to God that thy kingdom come. God's kingdom cannot be attained without human service, and God's kingdom cannot be entered by anybody except a child. So it is the character of child we want, because child character is cheerful. So there are three elements of child character: modesty, faithfulness, and loving and generous. So modest, child character is modest, modest simplicity. So it may child character, it think that all grown up people know everything, and only the child, he know nothing. And a good worker confess that there are many above him, wiser than he, right? So once Plato said that the only thing I know is that I know nothing. So if we have that mindset that we know everything and others know nothing, then we should not learn, right? So we have to be in the character of child who is modest, who is eager to learn from everyone. And second character is faithfulness. A child, respects his father, complete belief or surrender before his father, right? He believes that his father take care of him, right? And that is the true character of all good men. So we also have have the belief that it is God who take care of us. Faithfulness towards God, right? Belief, complete belief in God is so. This is about faithfulness. And third character is loving and generous or charity. If a child is shown love, he returns it with even greater love, right? With greater love, and he love you much more. If you observe in your family or any other, how much child loves you, right? And fourth character is child is cheerful. So it places its trust child, right? He's cheerful, he's happy, he stays happy, right? And places its trust in its father and always stay happy, whether in its duty. So that is also the character of a great worker as well. So these are the main points of the essay work by John Ruskin. And next video I will be talking about Of Liberty of Thought and Discussion by John Stuart Mill. Thank you for watching.